Picture this, a 700-acre ranch in Santa Barbara County where a grizzly bear licks an ice cream cone in a golf cart, a chimpanzee sips green tea with the mayor of Osaka, and a python named Madonna coils somewhere in the reptile house. This wasn't a movie set, it was Michael Jackson's backyard. At its peak, Neverland Ranch housed 124 exotic creatures: zebras, giraffes, elephants, lions, tigers, alligators, orangutans, and dozens more, making the King of Pop's home the most surreal private menagerie in celebrity history. Today, we're walking through every single animal we can verify, how they got there, and what happened after Michael closed the gates for good. Let's begin with the face of the whole operation. Bubbles. Bubbles was born on April 30th, 1983, inside an Austin, Texas research facility that bred primates for medical testing. Jackson acquired him as an infant through Bob Dunn, one of Hollywood's most prominent animal suppliers, and initially raised the chimp at the Jackson family compound in Encino. When Neverland opened in 1988, Bubbles moved with him. What followed became one of the strangest human-animal relationships ever documented. The chimp slept in a crib beside Michael's bed, wore diapers, used the singer's toilet, ate candy inside the private cinema, and was fed at the dining table like a toddler. Jackson taught him to moonwalk. He brought the primate into the studio during sessions for the Bad album, gave him a cameo in the Liberian Girl video, and famously took him to Japan during the 1987 World Tour, where the pair drank green tea with Osaka's mayor. But biology doesn't care about fame. Adult male chimps can be up to 5 times stronger than a grown human, and by 2003 Bubbles had turned pugnacious and unpredictable. Jackson, reportedly worried the primate might harm his newborn son Prince Michael II, sent Bubbles back to Bob Dunn's ranch in Sylmar, California. When Dunn wound down his Great Ape program in 2004, Bubbles was relocated to the Center for Great Apes, a sanctuary in Wauchula, Florida, where he still lives today as an elder statesman at age 42, well beyond the average male captive chimp lifespan of 33 years. According to sanctuary founder Patty Reagan, Bubbles now spends his days being groomed by other chimps, painting abstract canvases, napping in the shade, and ignoring visitors. As she put it, he's 100% chimpanzee now. A persistent myth says Bubbles was simply swapped out for an identical stand-in. The reality is that Jackson kept 3 chimps at Neverland over the years: Bubbles, Max, and Action Jackson, sometimes called AJ. The public confused the younger two for Bubbles because, well, most people can't tell chimps apart from a tabloid photo. Now let's move to the heavyweights. Literally. Michael owned multiple elephants, the most famous being Ali and Baba, who arrived from Africa as infants in the early 1990s. Ali was retired in 1997 to the Jacksonville Zoo and Gardens in Florida, where he still lives. In April 2024, Ali made headlines again after undergoing successful tusk surgery at the zoo. Documentary producer Johnny McDevitt, who worked on the 2022 ITV special fronted by Ross Kemp, described disturbing footage of Jackson's pachyderms being shackled and beaten into submission before their transport overseas, a detail that darkened the fairy tale image considerably. The tiger count at Neverland reached 4. 2 of them, a pair named Thriller and Sabu, were rehomed after Michael left the ranch, eventually finding safety at the Shambhala Preserve run by actress Tippi Hedren, mother of Melanie Griffith. Hedren's sanctuary has long specialized in rescuing big cats from private owners, and Thriller and Sabu reportedly thrived there. Trainer Mark Biancaniello, who handled several of Neverland's predators, was nearly killed in a traffic accident while transporting 2 of the tigers, a reminder that the logistics behind the fantasy were genuinely dangerous. The giraffe population reached 6 at its height. One named Jabbar died tragically when a barn door slammed onto his neck during high winds. 2 others nearly perished in a separate barn fire. After Michael left, a pair of Neverland giraffes were sent to Tom and Freddie Hancock's Banjoco Wildlife Preserve in Arizona, described by PETA and the ITV documentary as a pseudo-sanctuary. Both giraffes died just weeks apart, likely from exposure to cold temperatures, improper diet, or both. 2 more giraffes and several parrots from the ranch reportedly remained in the Hancock's care. On the reptile side, Jackson kept roughly 8 alligators plus crocodiles. Yes, both. He distinguished between them himself, along with an assortment of snakes and lizards. The standout was a Burmese-style python he named Madonna, a cheeky nod to his pop rival. After Neverland emptied out, Madonna and the gators were shipped to a roadside zoo in Oklahoma, a placement animal welfare groups flagged as deeply inadequate. Birds made up a surprisingly large chunk of the collection. Around 20 exotic species lived on the grounds, including 13 flamingos that were later relocated to a zoo in New Jersey, plus macaws, cockatoos, and assorted parrots, some of which stayed behind with the Hancocks in Arizona. Then there's Baloo, who might be the most unbelievable resident of all. Baloo was a grizzly bear who grew to roughly 650 pounds and stood nearly 7 feet tall on his hind legs. Trainer Mark Biancaniello gave interviews describing how he bottle-fed the cub, let him sleep in his bed, and cruised around Neverland in a golf cart while the bear contentedly licked an ice cream cone. Biancaniello even recalled riding bumper cars alongside Baloo while Michael's songs played through the park speakers. Try to picture that for a second. It sounds invented, but multiple sources confirm it happened. Llamas were another Jackson favorite. The most recognizable one, Louie, appeared in archival footage with Michael, who spoke affectionately about him and mentioned on camera that a previous llama companion had died. There were also deer that Jackson would personally feed late at night. Footage exists of him walking through the fields in his socks, bottle in hand. Add to the list 2 orangutans, who after Michael's passing were placed with a private keeper in Connecticut. There was a pet lion named Kimba. Jackson kept ostriches, frogs, rabbits, and zebras too. ITV's production team confirmed that at the zoo's peak, Neverland held 124 exotic animals across more than 50 species, a figure that pushes this far past eccentric pet owner territory and straight into the realm of a fully operational amateur wildlife park. Beyond the exotics, Michael had deeply personal connections to more ordinary animals. Growing up in Gary, Indiana, and later in Sino, he shared the house with 3 German shepherds named Duke, Heavy, and Black Girl. As a kid, he kept pet rats, and his favorite was a white one named Ben, christened after Michael's 1972 solo hit of the same name, which was itself the theme song to a horror movie about killer rodents. Let that loop back on itself for a moment. A song about a boy and his rat, sung by a boy who actually had one. So where did all of this come from, and why? Jackson spoke openly about viewing his ranch as a refuge for creatures nobody else wanted. He claimed many of his llamas, deer, tigers, and giraffes were rescues, some pulled from facilities where they'd been marked for slaughter. He frequently invited sick children and inner-city kids onto the property through Make-A-Wish and similar programs, giving them unrestricted access to animals they'd otherwise only see in books. In his own words from an interview referenced in estate archives, "We have elephants and giraffes and crocodiles and every kind of tigers and lions. And we have busloads of kids who don't get to see those things. They come up, sick children, and enjoy it." That generous framing, however, has been challenged, repeatedly and forcefully. Primatologist Jane Goodall visited Neverland and, according to the 2022 ITV documentary, told Jackson directly that his treatment of the animals, particularly Bubbles, was unacceptable. When the film crew asked whether her concerns had landed, her reply was simply no. PETA filed complaints alleging neglect. The producers of the Ross Kemp film tracked Neverland's scattered survivors across the country and uncovered what the Telegraph described as abuses, making Tiger King's Joe Exotic look like a mild-mannered wildlife enthusiast. And yet the picture isn't one-sided. In January 2006, the United States Department of Agriculture wrapped up its formal investigation into Neverland and concluded the animals had been adequately cared for, with no documented welfare violations. Santa Barbara County Animal Services reached the identical finding. Fan-run outlets like Pez Jax have also pushed back on the harsher narrative, arguing that Jackson didn't abandon Bubbles. He arranged for expert care, paid for the primate's upkeep, and continued visiting with his children. The Jackson estate reportedly still contributes financially to Bubbles' care at the Florida sanctuary. The truth, as usual, sits somewhere in the middle. Jackson clearly adored animals. He also clearly accumulated them beyond what any private individual, no matter how wealthy, could properly manage long-term. When he left Neverland for good following his 2005 acquittal, the dispersal process was chaotic. Some residents landed at world-class facilities: Bubbles at the Center for Great Apes, Ali at the Jacksonville Zoo, Thriller and Sabu at Shambhala. Others ended up in roadside attractions, fake sanctuaries, and private homes unprepared for the scale of what they'd taken in. Final tally, based on the Ross Kemp investigation combined with the press materials from Rare TV's production team: 124 exotic animals at peak, spread across more than 50 different species. We're talking about 3 elephants, 6 giraffes, 4 tigers, 7 apes and monkeys, 2 orangutans, a lion, multiple crocodiles, 8 alligators, pythons, lizards, zebras, llamas, a grizzly bear, roughly 20 exotic birds including 13 flamingos, ostriches, rabbits, frogs, plus the rotating cast of dogs, cats, rats, and deer that floated through Michael's personal spaces. No pop star before him built anything remotely similar, none has since. Chris Brown was once caught with a pet monkey he bought after citing Michael's bond with Bubbles as inspiration, and even that was a single capuchin, not a Serengeti. Here's the takeaway. Neverland Zoo was the physical expression of something very human about Jackson, the desire to build a world where the rules of the outside didn't apply, where childhood imagination could run wild, where an elephant and a flamingo and a grizzly bear could all coexist behind one gated drive. It worked as a dream, as a long-term living arrangement for 124 wild creatures. It was always destined to end the way it did, with the animals scattered, some cared for beautifully, others forgotten, and the rest folded into the complicated legacy of the man who owned them. Whatever you make of Michael Jackson personally, the zoo he built at Neverland remains singular in entertainment history. Nobody else tried it on that scale. Nobody else could have. And now, almost 2 decades after the gates closed, the last few survivors, Bubbles painting in Florida, Ollie healing in Jacksonville, Thriller and Sabu prowling Shambhala, are the quiet final chapter of one of the weirdest pet stories the world has ever seen.